Good morning. My name is Jim Rowe, and I'm here to welcome you onto what I call It's Just a Walk in the Park. There was a fort here at one time, and Fort Williams was named after a gentleman by the name of Seth Williams. Seth Williams was born in Augusta, Maine in 1822. He was a graduate of the U.S. Military Academy in West Point, New York in 1842. Commissioned a second lieutenant, he fought in the Mexican-American War, fought with distinction, was an artillery lieutenant. He came back north and joined the Union Army as the Civil War was breaking out. He was very highly regarded, and his name and memory live on here at Fort Williams.
My name is Frank Manduca, M-A-N-D-U-C-A. It means glutton, but I'm not living up to my name.
Okay, good.
My name is Sonia Ustic.
I was born and brought up in Portland.
In Portland?
Yes.
You grew up there?
Yeah.
I'm Sally Horn Hinckley, and my father was in the 5th Infantry stationed at Fort Williams.
Well, I grew up at Cape Elizabeth. I was born in South Portland.
I was born in Portland.
Okay.
I mean, born in South Portland, excuse me.
South Portland?
Yes.
And you grew up in
Portland.
In Portland. Where did you attend school?
Portland High.
Portland High?
Well, I was born in 1943 at the Mercy Hospital, which surprised me because we had an Army hospital right next to us where I lived at Fort Williams, so I don't know why we had to go to the Mercy Hospital.
We lived across the street in Charlie Farr's house after I was born, after they got married, and then I was born. So my connection with the fort comes after my connection with Popham, Fort Popham, and I did go to some schools here. I went to Cottage Farm School for a while, then we'd go someplace. My father would be transferred somewhere else. And then we'd come back, and this went on until 6th grade.
Well, my father was a musician, and he was in the service for 33 years, Army, then Air Force. And my mother was a musician. She played the violin and the keyboard.
We were stationed in Fort Williams, and I stayed there. We stayed there for about 7 years.
Well, my personal background is I was born in Fort Williams. I lived in a mansion. Yep, and my father was Master Sergeant, 5th Infantry. And I recall a lot of things about Fort Williams. Swimming on the beach down there. That was a sandy beach then.
Right.
And it was a great place for kids to swim. I remember my father putting me in the guardhouse because I was rolling cannonballs down the street.
Well, I graduated from high school in 1936, graduated from the nursing school in 1939.
I parochial schools, St. Patrick's in Libby Town,
Yep.
and Shepherd's High School.
I was born in Old Orchard Beach 80 and a half years ago.
Okay.
I won't be 81. I shouldn't rush it till July.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've always lived there. I grew up there, went to the University of Maine, was a councilman there and whatever, and I still serve on some of the boards down there.
Great.
When you're 6 months old, you know, they throw you in the water down there. If you don't make it, a year old, they throw you back in again. I was a lifeguard there before they drafted me in the Korean conflict. Club was underneath.
That's right, the NCO Club.
And I used to run in there too as a little boy, which I shouldn't have been in there. But I had to run to the place. And
So you were very young, but you were old enough to have playmates. Were there other kids your age, plus or minus, down there?
I don't remember playing alone. I was more playing by myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I got into everything by myself. Oh, I was with my brothers, but
Yeah.
they tried to ditch me. But I was always running around with GIs too. They were always taking me everywhere.
Yeah.
My father was going to Japan, so my mother told us kids, well, kids, we're going to go to Japan. She was all excited, so we had to go to Fort Williams and get our shots, all of us kids. We come home 2 days later, my father's orders changed. We end up going to Rapid City, South Dakota. My mother was so mad.
Well, Tokyo is nice. I've been there. Yeah. Yes, they had, people don't realize there were German prisoners in the brig.
In the break.
In the brig, that little brig. And they were young kids, most of them. They weren't old ones, probably off submarines or something that
Yeah.
transferred up here.
So late teens, probably.
Yeah, and when they had chow, I used to go into the chow line with them and go through the chow line with them. They wanted me there. They just enjoyed having me.
Yeah.
And I had a mess kit, and I'd go through the chow line at the brig with them.
So,
Now, backing up just a little bit, you said you were part of the CCC, the Civilian Conservation
Yes.
Corps. Was that headquartered at Fort Williams?
no,
Okay.
no.
Because there was a unit at Fort Williams.
Yes, yes. No, I joined the CC because there was not what employment at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And I mainly joined because through friends, everyone else, they weren't working or anything. And we joined with the prospects of going out west. And we went west, but it was Alfred. So we ended up cleaning the forests around part of New Hampshire and up in Maine from the hurricane.
Okay.
We'd just go into the forest every morning and we'd trim the branches from the trees that had fallen, and we'd burn the branches in the wintertime.
My two brothers were playing with the guns one day where they
These are
were
the
exposed.
These are the big artillery pieces.
ones that shoot 25 miles out into the sea. And they were sitting there playing on the guns, and there was a ship out coming into the harbor, and it blew up. And this actually ship did blow up when they were playing on these guns. My brother thought he shot the gun off, and he run home. Both of them ran home and hid.
Well, you know, we all smoked at that time.
Yeah.
And when you walked across the parade field, that was manicured. You had to be careful. So if you were smoking, you smoked down to the butt. Then you spread the butt and spread the tobacco on the ground.
You composted. That's what we're
Yeah,
doing now.
Roll the paper up into a tiny little ball and swallowed it so that you didn't contaminate the parade field.
Everybody did this?
I don't know.
The
And Jim
public health
remembers.
service was very big in those days. If you didn't have a vaccination, you couldn't go into school. They wouldn't let you in. And it was against the war effort if you weren't
Right.
cooperative. What is called Martin's Point was all the big public health buildings
Hospital,
there.
yeah.
We don't have that anymore because more people have access to regular offices and clinics and things, but it was a
Right.
big deal in those days.
No, I don't remember a disease outbreak, but we had a food poisoning one night. They had eaten chicken on a Sunday evening, and we probably had maybe 15 or 20 enlisted men admitted at one
All at
time.
one time.
I had scarlet fever.
Yeah. And you told me that a bunch of the soldiers at Fort Williams.
Yeah, my father's stationed over there at the time, and they built me a beautiful, because my father couldn't come in the house because I quarantined in Red Bank, and so he used to come over to the window, my bedroom, and tap on the window and wave and talk, and that was it.
Yeah.
But they got together. My father told the GIs that I was sick with I had scarlet fever, and they built me a beautiful dollhouse. Big, big wooden dollhouse. Oh, I love that dollhouse.
Graduated from the nursing school in 1939. We went in, there was a friend of mine in the nursing school. We decided we would join the service because if the men could give their life and their work in the army, we could do the same thing. We could work as the men did to help save lives and control the war and whatnot.
Yeah.
Before we went to Germany, we were living across the street, we had to get our shots, and there were a lot of them to get back in 1946. And they were awful. They would make you sick. Your arm would be all swollen up, red, and we got them right here. We got them at the fort.
Did you supervise the corpsmen? Did the nurses supervise
Yes,
the corpsmen?
yes, we
So they
did.
were like medics?
Yes.
Okay,
And
Okay.
they really did most of the work.
okay.
And I think they lacked something in TLC, 1011 care. I think we as nurses were a little bit reluctant to see them at the bedside, you know, in terms of they were more harsh with their fellow men.
And we were a pretty good band, actually, and we were invited to play for a change of command ceremony out here to Fort Williams. It's a Coast Guard change of command. So we came out, it was a day beautiful like today, except it was windy. It was about 5 times windier than it is today. So we're setting up and the music is blowing everywhere, you know, this music's blowing off the music stands. And we got rocks and paper clips and everything else trying to keep it anchored, but it was awful. I mean, I think I wound up playing drum music with my saxophone. It was, it was crazy.
Well, I started my professional career actually in Old Orchard Beach Pier Casino, the original. And I started singing with a local band, Jimmy Hansen, at the Stevens Street Armory years ago. And then Neil Hefty, when he came here to this part of the country, and some of the other big bands, Tommy Reynolds and Blue Barrel and some of those bands, they would hire locally sometimes, like a vocalist or a trumpet player.
I think we had frequent parades,
like
and you'd see them out
Sunday.
there marching on the parade grounds.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
down Shore Road, too.
Yeah. And how often would you go to dances?
Every Sunday night over
Every
there, that's when
Sunday
they
night.
had it, yeah.
For how long? How long a period?
Geez, 2 or 3 years, I think, right?
Oh, more than that.
Maybe, yeah. Quite a while until they stopped it, and I cried. And then when it snowstormed, they didn't have it. They announced it on the radio. No dances at Fort Williams. I'd cry.
Oh,
Jeez,
jeez.
I want to look forward to going there.
Now, how big were these dances? How many people would typically be at a Fort Williams dance?
Over 100 people would be
Oh,
there.
yeah, sometimes close to 200
Oh, yeah.
in the clubs.
Yeah, in the clubs,
They
yeah.
wouldn't hold much more than that.
Yeah, because the club wasn't that huge, you know.
I
Days
played
together,
more
or-
often for the NCO club. The Brunswick Air Force Base, I played for the Officers Club down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been there, too.
Yeah.
Bunch of us girls used to go down there.
Did
Nope.
people sneak in with a hip flask? Did they have a, they weren't serving
No,
alcohol?
they
Did
were
that
pretty
go on?
careful on that because Maine used to be extremely strict. You would take your licenses away from you for entertainment or anything else.
Oh, And were
Yeah.
were the young ladies in demand heading over to this military installation? Was it?
They were always in demand as
Well,
far
you
as
know
I'm
what I mean.
concerned.
I would imagine most of the folks, the people stationed there were men, and so you're.
Well, I
having this
told you, I
social-
met a guy there, yeah. He was well, he ended up being a psychiatrist in
You told me. this
John
on the
Hopkins
phone.
University.
That's right.
Yeah, but I used to go out with him once in a while. He'd take
Right.
me out to dinner, stuff like that,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, he was weirdo, a little bit.
Oh, definitely, in Cape Elizabeth particularly. I had been away in the northern part of the state for about 56 years. So when I came back here, it had changed tremendously. I left fields and swamps and woods and came back to a highly popular
Yeah.
residential area.
Changed a lot. Did you keep your friends that you made at Fort Williams after the time that you were going to dances there?
They've all passed away.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
For
yeah,
several
over the
years you
years,
stayed-
yes, I did,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, one girlfriend, she married a guy from Brunswick. We used to go up there, and she met some fellow up there and ended up marrying him and moved to Illinois. That's where he was from.
in recent years, have you been down there?
Yeah, yes, I have.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. I've been back from the county, from Roussik, about a year, a little over a year now.
Okay.
So we've driven down there several times.
I haven't been to Fort Williams in years.
Yes, I used to go every year because my wife, she passed away 4 years ago, used to present her art there. She was a watercolorist.
Well, I suppose it was the friendships, and we became very close, the other nurses.
Did you stay in touch for a long time after you all?
Some of us all went together, and no, as a matter of fact, I did not keep in touch with the people that I worked. I tend over my life to divide it into segments. One segment is done and start a new one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.